Okay, so we'll be having 2 or 3 practicals for today's session, and then remaining will call in the like Monday or Tuesday. Okay, so the in last lab we have done this too, to study the various electrical and electronic components, and the other one was to study and perform about KVL and mesh analysis. Now today's experiment is basically a KCL, or you can say a nodal analysis. So in today's experiment, we already know like how KCL is performed, how nodal analysis is performed, but we want to verify it practically. That's our target for today. Okay. So what I'm going to do today is I have one circuit. Okay. Just let me quickly draw the circuit. Okay. Rather than drawing a circuit, let me directly show the video itself. It has been explained, like everything is explained. So we'll directly start the video. So what first we are going to do? First we are going to see things that like theoretical calculation of KCL that we have already done, and you know how to do that. You have already appeared for the internal examination, so you know how to do things. So basically the kit we used in last experiment, the same kit would be more than enough for this practical. And again in today's lecture you will be supposed to write this readings. Okay, so very basic readings are there, same as the last experiment. So what we are going to do first, we'll see how to calculate the theory. Okay, rather let's keep that part. We can begin with the like I can count on you to do the theoretical work, and what we can do is we can directly focus on the practical. So let me give you the circuit first, so you can calculate the theoretical currents. Okay. So today the first experiment, the experiment number 3 is based on KCL and your nodal analysis. So in nodal analysis or this KCL, we are going to have a circuit. Okay, it's very difficult to draw a resistor using this digital pad. Let me draw it. So see, this is my circuit on which I'm going to perform. Okay, so there are mainly 3 resistors in parallel and one in a series with that. So the resistance is 220 ohm. This one is 1 kilo ohm. This one is 2.2 kilo ohm, and this one is 3.3 kilo ohm. And the supply is 12 volt. Okay. So based on your KCL and KVL, not KCL and KVL, KCL and nodal analysis, you can calculate the current in here. Okay. So basically what a KCL state that if I have n number of currents entering and leaving the node, okay, in that case, if I perform an arithmetic sum of all the current, let us say this is I1, this is I2, I3, I4. Arithmetic sum keeping the direction of the current in mind. In that case, my arithmetic sum will result in 0. So either you can state it like this: I1 plus I4 is equal to I2 plus I3, or what you can do is I1 minus I2 minus I3 plus I4 is equal to 0. These are the two ways that you can prove this. So now how we are going to connect on the circuit. So basically what you are supposed to do is you are going to measure this currents. Okay, so let us say this is my I1 here, this is my I2, I3 and I4. So what I am going to do, I am going to connect a meter over here first. If I connect a meter in series with this line, either on this side or this side, that's good. I can connect over here as well. In that case, the ammeter will show me the current, okay, current I1. Then in the same way, we are going to measure the current by putting ammeter before this resistor. So I'll get I2, then I3, and then I4. Okay. So we know the direction of the current. Okay, even your emitter will show the direction of the current. So at the end, what we are going to prove is I1 is equal to I2 plus I3 plus I4 practically. So first you are going to do it theoretically. Whatever readings theoretically you get, you will put that reading over here. Once you complete that, okay, so you are supposed to do it at your home, and then you are going to we are going to measure this current in experiment, and then we are going to put that current over here. Okay. So we'll verify both theoretically as well as practically. So now let us see the experiment.
Okay.
Is audio available at your end? I'll play it one more time. Just let me know whether audio is available.
Connected. The value.
Are you able to hear the audio?
Yes,
Anyone?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then we'll start with the
Yeah.
experiment.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now these are the dotted lines wire we have connected.
This is the circuit. It's a little bit blurry. Video quality is not so good.
Okay. So this
But this is a basically a basic circuit. Now what we are going to do? Let me have a better one.
by using a external.
This is a circuit. This is a first resistor 220 ohm, same way 1 kilo ohm, 2 kilo, 2.2 and 3.3 is over here. So what we are going to do? We have this line over here. You can see there is a dotted line over here. That connection is basically open. All the other connections are internally connected. So what you are supposed to do? You are going to connect a power supply at this place. Okay, so this is my where I'm going to connect my battery or supply. So I have inbuilt supply of 12 volt available over here, a positive and a negative. So positive is yellow, so I'm going to connect a yellow at this point, and on the common I'm going to connect my negative terminal. So this is my that connection. Then after, these are all the connections that available. You can do it as per your convenience. Okay, so if I want to connect this point to this point, then I have to connect it with a solid line. Okay, so I'm going to connect a wire over here. A jumper will be connected over here. Now I want to measure all this current. So first I have to measure this current. Then this is my I1, this is my I2, I3 and I4. So I'm going to measure all this four current. So what I'm going to do? First I'll connect all this three, and I'll put ammeter over here. Okay, so here instead of connecting a wire, I'm going to connect ammeter. So using ammeter, my connection will be completed. Okay, so once I measure this current, then I'll remove ammeter from this line. I'll connect it with the wire, and then I'll remove this wire, and then I'm going to connect ammeter over here. Then same way here and here. This way I'm going to complete my reading. So let us start.
Wire. Okay. So this wire we have connected. Okay. So in this kit we will practically measure the different values across the each resistance. Okay. Now first thing is, as in our first lecture of KVL, sir told you that these are the dotted lines which are not internally connected, but this dotted line can be this dotted line need to be connected by using a external wire. Okay, so this wire we have connected. Okay, so this is also connected. Here we have supply. It's given to DC connect source. Okay, so this is supply is given. Okay, now first is we will measure the value of current. So these three resistors R2, R3 and R4 are connected. We will first measure the value of supply current. So supply current will be measured through the resistance R1. Okay, mind is કે વોલ્ટેજ છે એ એક્રોસ રેઝિસ્ટન્સ મેઝર કરવાનો હોય આવી રીતના. ઓકે, જો મારે વોલ્ટેજ મેઝર કરવો હોય તો આની એક્રોસમાં મેઝર કરાશે આ બે પોઈન્ટની. ઓકે, આ પોઈન્ટ અને આ પોઈન્ટ. ઓકે, ફરીથી કહી દઉં, આ પોઈન્ટ અને આ પોઈન્ટની એક્રોસમાં રજિસ્ટર્સની એક્રોસમાં વોલ્ટેજ મેજર કરે. જો તમારે કરંટ મેજર કરવો હોય તો રજિસ્ટરની પહેલા જે બે પ્રોબ હોય ત્યાં આગળ તમે કરંટ મેજર કરશો કે એ રજિસ્ટરમાંથી કેટલો થાય છે. અને એ કરંટ મેજર કરવા માટે તમારું જે મલ્ટીમીટર જે છે, આ મલ્ટીમીટર એ થ્રુ એટલે કે બંને વાયર ત્યાં આગળ પ્લેસ કરવાના છે. ઓકે, સો જ્યારે હું આ મલ્ટીમીટરના આ જે બે પ્રોબ છે, ઓકે, આ પ્રોબ આ મલ્ટીમીટરના જે બે જે પ્રોબ કરેલા છે કનેક્ટેડ, ઓકે, રેડ એન્ડ ગ્રીન એ જ છે. એ બે પ્રોબ રેડ જે છે એ પોઝિટિવ, બ્લેક જે છે એ નેગેટિવ ટર્મિનલ. ઓકે, રેડ ઉપર હું મૂકીશ રેડ અને એક અહીંયા આગળ બ્લેક. ઓકે, તો તમે અહીંયા જોશો ધીસ ઇઝ 15 મિલી એમ્પિયર. ઓકે, અહીંયા આગળ બહુ જ આછું તમને દેખાશે.
So this is the first reading I1 itself. So here you can see this current, my main current I1 is 15 milliampere. If you calculate it theoretically, you will get roughly around somewhere their value. Okay, so that's my first current 15 milliampere. Same way we are going to measure it in each resistor. Okay,
maybe 15 milliampere is our supply current. Okay, આમે અહીંયા આગળ આ કનેક્શન આપ્યું એટલે થ્રુ મલ્ટીમીટર ધીસ સર્કિટ ઇઝ કનેક્ટેડ. આ ડોટેડ લાઈન હોવા છતાં પણ આ કનેક્શનને કારણે આ સર્કિટ છે એ કેવી થઈ જશે? કનેક્ટેડ. અને એનો જે સપ્લાય કરંટ જે છે એ છે 15 મિલી એમ્પિયર. રાઈટ, નાવ we will measure. હવે આપણે
now I want to measure the current in this 1 kilo ohm resistor. So what I have to do, I have to remove this existing line because the current is always measured in series. So ammeter is always connected in series with the item which so in this case there is a resistor. So I'm going to measure the resistance in this line. So I have to connect it in a series. So I have to first open this connection and then I can measure the current over here by connecting a meter in this point. But before that I have to complete the circuit before. So I have opened the circuit from here. So I am first going to connect the wire and I'll close circuit from here and then I'm going to measure the current in this brand. Excuse me.
મેજર કરવું છે કે કરંટ એક્રોસ ધીસ રેઝિસ્ટન્સ. ઓકે, આ રેઝિસ્ટન્સમાંથી કેટલો કરંટ પાસ થશે? તો આ ડોટેડ લાઈન છે એને આપણે વાયરથી કનેક્ટ કરી દઈએ અને આ ડોટેડ લાઈન જે હતી, આ ડોટેડ લાઈન, ઓકે, આ બંને એને આપણે મલ્ટીમીટરથી કનેક્ટ કરીએ તો ઇટ ઇઝ 8.6 મિલી એમ્પિયર કરંટ. ઓકે,
second reading is 8.6 milliampere. Yeah, 8.6 milliampere in resistance of 1K. Now we are going to same way we are going to measure the current in 2.2 kilo ohm resistance.
8.6 8.7 મિલી એમ્પિયર કરંટ. ઓકે, ટોટલ કરંટ હતો 15. અહીંયા આગળ જો તમે ધ્યાનથી કે આ 1K છે, આ 2.2K છે, આ 3.3K છે. સૌથી વધારે કરંટ ક્યાંથી પસાર થાય? જેનો રેઝિસ્ટન્સ ઓછો હોય ત્યાંથી. ઓકે, તો અહીંયા આગળ રેઝિસ્ટન્સ ઓછો છે તો અહીં મેજર કરશો ત્યારે હાઈએસ્ટ કરંટ મળતો હશે. બરાબર, આ ત્રણેય રેઝિસ્ટન્સમાં જ્યારે આપણે કરંટ મેજર કરીએ એનું એડિશન, એનો સરવાળો એ ટોટલ સપ્લાય કરંટ જેટલો થતો હોવો જોઈએ. ઓકે, તો આની એક્રોસમાં આપણે મેજર કર્યું કે ભાઈ 8.6 મિલી એમ્પિયર જેટલો કરંટ છે. હવે આપણે મેજર કરીએ રેઝિસ્ટન્સ R3 ની એક્રોસમાં. R3 ની એક્રોસમાં રેઝિસ્ટન્સ મેજર કરીએ તો આવશે 4 મિલી એમ્પિયર. ઓકે, 3.9 મિલી એમ્પિયર, 4 મિલી એમ્પિયર જેટલો. અહીંયા
Let's say that is a 3.9 milliampere. Okay, again what he has done, he has first removed the ammeter from the previous one and then connected in the next one. But keeping that in mind, whenever you open something using ammeter, that means that line will be disconnected. So again you have to connect it back. So you can see here new wire is connected over here. Same way I am going to measure the last current.
આગળ હતું 8.6, અહીંયા આવ્યું છે 4 એટલે કે અરાઉન્ડ 12.6 મિલી એમ્પિયર જેટલું એડિશન થયું. હજી અહીંયા 12 ટોટલ છે 15. અહીંયા આગળ આપણે મળેલું હતું 8.6, અહીંયા આગળ મળે છે 4 મિલી એમ્પિયર જેટલું. ઓકે, અરાઉન્ડ 4 મિલી એમ્પિયર એટલે 8.6 પ્લસ 4 12.6 મિલી એમ્પિયર અહીંયા આગળ એડિશન થાય છે. નેક્સ્ટ R4 રજિસ્ટર ઉપર 2.6 milliampere. Okay, 2.6
My
milliampere.
last final reading, that is 2 point, let us say that is 2.65. Okay, so practically my 4 reading I have got, that is my main current, or I can say my I1 is 1.5 milliampere, my I2 is 8.6 milliampere, my I3 is 3.9, and I4 is 2.65. Okay, so I know that now I have connected my A meter with the positive negative like this. So I can see my current was flowing like this because I was getting positive current. Same way here I have used this same polarities. So now I can know my current flows like this in all branches. So I can say this is my incoming current, and at this node I1 is incoming and I2, I3 and I4 are outgoing. So I1 is equal to I2 plus I3 plus I4. We have to verify that. Okay, or what you can do is you can verify this I1 instead of plus, what you can do is I1 minus I2 minus I3 minus I4. You will end up with 0. Either it will be 0 or it can be nearly 0. That there might be some errors due to the measurement. Okay, so now let's check that. Okay. So my incoming current is 15 milliampere and my outgoing current. So let's first sum up the outgoing current. It is 8.6. All are milliampere, so I'm not considering milli right now. 8.6 plus 3.9 plus 2.6. So my current in milliamperes is 15.15 milliampere, and it is almost equal to my incoming current I1, 15 milliampere. So that's how you can say we have proved the KCL. And for nodal analysis, you have to do it at your home for this readings, theoretical readings. Okay, so you'll get a theoretical readings and you will get practical reading over here that we have taken. So either you can do the one thing, just take the screenshot of this reading. So you will get I1, I2, and I3. There is no point here. Huh? Yeah, this is not the part of that. It is 15 milliampere. Or let me write it down over here. I1 is 15 milliampere. I2 is 8.6 milliampere. You can directly put this readings in your document. Okay, I have not shared the document yet, but after completing today's class or today's session, I'll share the document so you can start modifying. Do not submit it until you complete all the 10 practicals. Okay, do not submit it. Once you complete all 10 practical, then and then you will submit it, and I'll create assignment. You have to submit it over there. Okay. So these are the readings. You can take a screenshot. That would be helpful to you while you actually do your workbook. Okay. So this is all about KCL. Now, if you have any questions related to KCL or this practical, then you can ask the question. Be it a theoretical or be it a practical.
સર આમાં કેલ્ક્યુલેશન લખવાની છે.
You have to write down the theoretical calculation that you perform over here. Or what you can do it on your notebook and paste a photograph over here. That will work.
ઓકે સર.
Take a photograph and put a photograph here. And then you have to write a conclusion at the end. What you have concluded. Okay, done. No questions, I'll guess. Then we'll move ahead with the next experiment, and the next experiment is related to charging and discharging of capacitor. Now, I have told you earlier that we are going to derive these two equations, but this is not part of your syllabus. So time being, we are skipping that because we are lack of time. Time is very less. So we have to complete the experiment first. So rather than like this equation won't be asked in your examination. Okay, this can be just asked in practical, like what is the equation of charging voltage and charging current. So you just have to remember these two equations, and like how to derive these equations, that won't be asked in practical as well as theoretical exam. So do not worry about it. Mainly what we want to do using this experiment is we want to check whether the theory of charging and discharging is correct or not. So let us first start with the theory. I'll directly play a video where theory is explained, and then we'll see it practically.
digital multimeter, stopwatch here we require to use, and
This part is not visible, but basically what is this? This is the same document that I just showed you. This is the same document. Okay, I'm going to send it to you so you can refer it. Something is written over here. That's the theory of charging and discharging, along with the equations of charging as well as discharging, and what is the time constant. How to find out time constant. Okay, and then at the end probably yeah, you have to do this. You have to plot a graph of charging and discharging, and then you have to find out the time constant based on the graph. Okay, so all the procedure is given over here, but we'll see a practical demonstration.
obvious we required power supply and connecting wires. So see, uh, I think you already studied this charging and discharging in your 11 and 12. When the capacitor is connected across the DC supply, the property of parallel plate capacitor is what? It ultimately store the you can say different charges on different plates, and ultimately temporarily it acts as an voltage supply. See, here I make a one circuitry for just understanding purpose. This is my battery of suppose 12 volt DC, and it is connected with, you can say, one resistance, you can say a R of like a 4.7 k ohm.
This
Okay.
is just so like in actual circuit there would be a 10 kilo ohm resistors, but this is just for explanation.
And then I connect with one battery, you can say a capacitor. Okay, suppose this capacitor is of 100 microfarad. Okay, I just take this for reference purpose. Ultimately, we use different figures for different component value in our real experiment. So what happened? Suppose here we have one switch also. Okay, so it is easy to understand. Okay, at t equal to t0 second, suppose I close this switch, and ultimately your battery is connected with the supply. Battery is connected with your capacitor, and you get a closed path. So what happened? At t equal to 0, as your switch is closed, current is flowing in this clockwise direction I. Okay, and ultimately gradually your capacitor is charged. Okay, like this. Okay, and if you require to plot the curve of you can say a supply across this capacitor, we can say VC, voltage across capacitor. Okay, then we get the curve like this, if you remember. Okay, the curve will be like this is my time axis. Okay, and here the voltage across capacitor. Okay, and this is the t0 time at which I close the switch, and the closed circuitry is formed. Okay, so initially the capacitor is fully discharged, that's why we get the zero value at t0 instance. But because switch is closed and current is flowing, okay, and the charges are accumulated across, you can say, the plates of the capacitor, gradually your VC will be increased. Okay, but this is not in a linear fashion. If you see, this is like what you can say, it is a exponential way. Okay, this supply or voltage across the capacitor is you can say exponentially increase with respect to time. So see, this is my VCC. VCC is nothing but this battery voltage, 12 volt. Okay, so as my time increased, okay, ultimately it tried to reach to the supply of a 12 volt. Okay, so this is the curve. Okay, and what is the equation? VC equal to, if you remember, it is a VCC supply. Okay, in bracket 1 minus e raised to minus t by, you can say, r into a c. Okay, and this RC we can say it is a, you can say, a tau, you can say, or time constant. Okay, okay, so this is the equation, and if you require to write the equation of a current, okay, which is ultimately gradually come to the zero. Why? Because here we have a battery of 12 volt, and gradually your capacitor is also having a 12 volt after a certain time. Suppose that here, okay, so there is no any potential difference. That's why there is no any current flowing. So you can say as the time progress and your VC become a VCC, at that time I become a zero. Okay, so we can say if I want to draw the curve for the current, then it is like this. Here it is I, and initially we get the maximum current, which is, we can say, it is a IM. or Imax, whatever you want to say, but it is gradually decreased to a 0. Okay, it is exponentially decreased. So we can write the equation like this: I equal to Im or Imax e raised to minus t by RC. Again, the RC is a time constant over here. Okay, you require to multiply R and C. Okay, and you get the time constant having a unit of second. Agree? So same practical, all the theories mentioned over here. Okay, here we get the equation like Vc equal to V into 1 minus T by RC. Likewise. Okay, and next thing, again, okay, this is the charging part. Okay, this is the charging. Okay, but second portion is what we require the discharging also. Okay, discharging means what? When your capacitor is fully charged, okay, at that time, okay, it with respect to time, it also decrease the, you can say, voltage when it get the closed path. Suppose in the above circuitry, if we remove this battery,
Charging is basically storing the static energy inside a capacitor, and what the discharging means is releasing that stored energy back. Okay, but to release the energy or to either store energy, you need a closed path in either way. So now what we are going to do, first we have done charging by using additional power source. So we have used a 12-volt battery, and then using this 12-volt battery, you have tried to charge this capacitor. So once your capacitor is charged at 12 volt, now there is no potential difference between the two. That's why your current decreases to 0. But now you want to release that energy back. So to release that energy, you again require a closed path, and in that case, this closed path won't work. So your circuit this circuit will remove this battery. Instead of that, we'll provide a solid wire over here, or you can say instead of battery, I'll do a short circuit of this 2 line, and then using that new provided path, your capacitor will work as a battery, and it will start to dissipate the power, or it will discharge. Okay, so basically it will release the energy that has been stored, and where that energy will go, that energy will flow in the form of current, and it will be used inside this resistor, and it will be at the end it will be like dissipated in form of I square R losses. That's the thing. Okay, so how to discharge?
if we remove this battery, then what happened? And initially my capacitor is fully charged. Okay, then your circuitries look like this. Okay, this is my R, this is my C, and here, because initially it is charged to 12 volt, as we give the supply 12 volt. Okay, so it is act like, you can say, a temporary supply. But as we get the closed path, because here the switch is closed. Okay, so what happened here, the current is flowing in negative direction. Okay, so in experiment also you get the negative, you can say, direction of current. Okay, but ultimately what happened, your VC become a 0. If we want to plot the curve, then it is like this. Initially it is a 12 volt, and it is exponentially decreased with respect to time, and again you get the curve for the current like this. You can say this is my I. Initially, why I plot the curve on the fourth? Why? Because fourth quadrant. Why? Because the current is now in the negative direction. Okay, in charging it is clockwise, in discharging it is anti-clockwise. That's why it is in the fourth quadrant. But ultimate, both VC and I in discharging, it tends to be 0 as the time proceed. Okay, so hope it is clear. Okay, and now I show one circuitry over here. See,
Let me show the exact circuitry. So this is the actual real circuit that you are going to perform the experiment on. So this is the how it will look like in your experiment kit as well. So what we are going to do, we are going to first first we'll start with capacitor in fully discharged state. So this would be in fully discharged state initially. Then what we are going to do, we are going to first close this switch. Okay, which position? This position. So I'm going to provide a closed path like this. So as soon as I provide a closed path, my current will start flowing from this to this, and ultimately my capacitor will start to charge. Okay, we'll take 3 readings. Okay, the first reading would be of time, the second would be of your current, and third would be of voltage. Okay, So there would be the current of which current of this is a single path. Okay, so I'm going to either measure current over here or here. I'll get the same value. But which voltage I'm going to measure the voltage across my capacitor? How a voltage build up across a capacitor? I'm going to connect a voltmeter over here and a meter over here. So this is how I'm going to take the reading. So as soon as I start circuit, I'll have a stopwatch to measure the time. So as soon as I close the circuit, okay, I just close the circuit by providing a button over here. I'll start my stopwatch along with that. Okay, and after a specific interval, I'll take the reading of these parameters. Okay, so let us say my first reading I am taking at like 1 second, then I'll take the reading at 5 seconds, then I will 10 seconds, then I can take reading at 15 seconds, 20 seconds, so and so forth. At each after each 5 seconds, I'm going to take 2 readings. Okay, so basically, if you are here, like if you are present in campus, in that case, you 2 students has to take reading, and the third one has to take the time. So when like 5 seconds done, one would clap, and the one will take the reading of I, and the other one will take the reading of V, and at the end we'll combine the readings. Okay, so exactly at the 5th second, you have to take that I and V both at the same time. The result will happen if a same person is doing this task. He'll see 5 seconds, he'll come over here. When he takes this reading, let us say it's get like 40 milliampere reading. Meanwhile, while he is writing, at the moment he write down, before that some time will be elapsed, and I'll be end up at 7th or 8th second reading, and at that time my voltage will be changed. So these three things has to be done at the same time. As soon as your 5th second is done, you have to take the reading of your current and your voltage. That's the important part. Once you do that, okay, you're finally at some after some time interval, you'll get somewhere around 12 volt. Okay, somewhere around, so it may be 11.8, and then even after 10 or 20 seconds, you'll still get 11.8. So we'll stop there. That's charging, and then we'll start to discharge, and at that time we'll again move the switch from the first position to the new position. Okay, on discharging position, and again I will start taking the reading again with the same T, I and V. Okay, so we'll get 2 type of reading. One would be of charging and the other one would be of discharging. So these are the charging table and this is the discharging table. We'll stop when your voltage becomes 0 in case of discharging. Okay, so now let's see the experiment.
We have a battery like we use discharging. In charging, we have VC versus, and when your switch is at the B point, okay, means we exclude what this supply. That's why. So for that, see here current. You close the switch to a 12, right? Because it will book. Okay, and see it is practical.
So once you do this, then we'll start doing discharging. Okay, so charging and discharging has to be done like follow. So first you will charge that, and then same way you will discharge the same capacitor. You'll get these readings. Then once you get that, you are going to plot a curve. Okay, plot a curve of what? Plot the graph for voltage, time, and current for charging of capacitor, and a separate graph for voltage and current while discharging the capacitor. So you are going to plot graphs for both of them. Okay, and then find the time constant from the graph. So how to find that time constant from the graph? So the time constant is basically how to find it. To obtain this in the graph for voltage versus time, draw a tangent from origin to the point obtained from the first reading for charging of capacitor. Now draw line for the maximum charge voltage VC, where the tangent and VC intersect. Project that point on time axis. The achieved value on time axis is the time constant lambda for given RC circuit. Okay. Similarly, this can also be achieved from the current versus time graph also. So either you use voltage time graph or current time graph, and then you find out your time constant RC. Before that, now let's complete the how to take the reading or what are the readings. The important part of this experiment is I'm going to provide you a reading because it would be very difficult for you to take this reading using a video. So I'm going to provide all these readings, okay, afterward. But first we'll see whether the charging and discharging works in the way that we know. Okay, so let's first enjoy the experiment and then we'll take care about the readings. So see, this is the circuit. This is the 10 kilo ohm resistor. This is my power supply. It has been switched to 5 volts. This is a 5 volt. It is internally connected, so no external wire is required. So, but here the line is dotted, so an external wire is connected over here. So I am connecting. Now see, there are two switches over here. One switch is over here and second one is here. But the two switches are internally on single switch. This. So when I put it on charging, my power will transfer from battery. And when I put it on discharge, this button is that. A charging discharging button is that. So I'll put in discharge. At that time, this portion, a battery will be removed and this solid line will be connected. So my closed circuit forms like this. Okay. And then I have connected my voltmeter and ampere meter, what I say, a meter over here. Okay, so a meter and your voltmeter is connected across this. This is a voltmeter. So blue wire and the red wire is the voltmeter. So here there is a capacitor like this. It is not visible, but a capacitor like this, that's a 1000 microfarad capacitor. So I have terminal one connected terminal is with the voltmeter. So blue is going to the here. And the other one, the red one, is the common. Okay, so it's the common point. So it is the second point of my capacitor. So I've connected it with the other end of voltmeter. So voltmeter is connected in a parallel, and this A meter, this is the A meter. So A meter is connected in series. How it is connected? From here, my power. So there is a dotted line again. So it is not internally connected. So how I'm going to connect? I'm going to connect it to A meter. How I have connected? The red one is going to A meter first. Okay, I have put the A meter on like this. This is a multimeter. I have put that multimeter on reading the current, DC current. So it is here, and the common of this will come back and it is connected to the same end where a voltmeter is connected. Okay, so your connection looks like this. Okay, so A meter. So your A meter. So why it is like this? It's not responding. So your A meter will be connected over here like this. Okay, and on the same point I have connected my voltmeter like this. Okay, so don't get confused. So the red and black, like blue and black, is on the same terminal. Okay, so this is a meter and this is my voltmeter. That's how I made the connection. Now I'm not like he's explaining the connection one more time, so I'm skipping that part.
1000 this blue wire like this. Say the
Okay, so now we have started the kit. Still, I have not started the charging. Still, it is in discharging. So I'm making sure the capacitor is fully discharged before starting. Now you can see our watch over here. That's stopwatch. Okay, so basically the 3 readings should be taken like this. Time first. So at once after each 5 seconds, I'm going to take these 2 readings. So you have to keep a timer with you. Okay. So now let's start.
Switch of a kit. Okay, and simultaneously required to what? Start this stopwatch. Okay, and also you can start or connect into a charging mode. Okay, so like this. Okay, and see the reading.
So now see this 2 reading. The voltage is started from 0. It has already reached to 1.26, and your current right now is 0.3 ampere. Probably I'm like it is not visible clearly, but it would be mostly ampere. So 0.3 ampere and 1.26 volt. So while you charge at that time, your voltage will increase and your current will decrease. So look at that too. Okay, don't look at the stopwatch right now. Time will keep on going. But what we are interested in is this too. I'll directly share the reading. So stopwatch is not at all required.
Your voltage is increased. Okay, you require to take just like on a 5 second or on a 10 second. Okay, you require to continuously take this reading. Okay, and see here we take a 5 volt supply. That's why your voltage across the capacitor is increased up to the 5 volt. Okay, and currently it is continuously decreasing and goes to the 0. Okay, but up to where you require to go? You require to go like a 4.9 something around. Okay, and above 4.9 you require to simply stop to take the next reading. Okay, then what you require to prepare?
Now you can see the rate of increasing this voltage is very slow, and also the current is very low.
Okay, for the second part. Okay, suppose see here the current is go up to a 4.44 something. Okay, so it is you require to measure this 5 volt. See here it is a 5 volt, but if you can measure this before starting of this practical, it might be varying. Okay, just like it is only give a 4 point, you can say 7 or 4.8. Okay, so
So right now, this switch between 4.42 and 4.3, that means this charging is done already. Like capacitor is charged fully.
in practical aspect, you require to take that value. Okay, just like here it is a 12. Okay, but here actually we have 4.7 or 4.8 something. Okay, so according to that we get the maximum reading over here. It is not like a 5 volt here, it is there, but it is not up reach up to a 5. Okay, why? Because internally this value might be changed. Okay, so you require to first see this. Okay, you require to connect across here a voltmeter and see. Okay, before connecting all these, you can say connections, connect voltmeter over here, no one of I on the supply and see what is the exact battery value. Okay, so I think it is a 4.6 or 4.7. That's why it is go up to 4.4. And see the current is now become like a 0.044 milli something. Okay, so almost zero. Next, what you require to, okay, so this is the first part. First part is over. This part
We'll stop here for the
charging
charging. Now we'll start discharging.
portion is over. Okay, next we require to what do we require to come to this? You can say a right part, discharging. Okay, so in a discharging, what we require to
We'll just put in the switch on the discharging mode. As soon as we do that, this battery will be eliminated and the new circuit will be formed from this resistor through ammeter, through capacitor, through this line over here. Okay, so no battery is included while I switch on to discharge. Okay, now
do.
let's
Okay,
like that.
again we require to, okay,
Again I will start my timer with 00 again.
and simultaneously start my timer and come to the discharging. Discharging means what we simply neglect it. Okay, we neglect this, you can say supply part. Okay, and your capacitor is discharged, you can say via this 10k, and then it's come back to over here and again to a, you can say capacitor, as we see earlier in a circuitry in theory portion. Okay, so you simply start this and come to the discharge portion
See,
and see
as soon as
this
as soon as discharge has been switched on, already it's become like 2.58 volt. Okay, and the current is also decreasing. So initially your current will be high. See, the negative sign is appearing here. So initially a negative high current will be there, and then with the time it will decrease to zero. I am saying high, but like value is high, quantity is high, but it's in reverse. So that's why it is negative. Like negative 5 is smaller than 0. Don't consider it like that. This is just the direction of the current. Negative just represent the direction of the current. Okay, and not the quantity. Quantity is actually 0.2 ampere that is going in reverse direction.
this your you can say so current is a minus, as we discussed it is in anti-clockwise, and your supply is also decreased VC voltage across capacitor. Okay, so you require to go up to 0.1 or 0.2 volt something. Okay, then you can stop the taking reading. Okay, so now you are ready with what you can say the observation table, and using this observation table you require to make the 4 graph, V and I versus T for the charging, and V and I versus T for the discharging, total 4 graph. Okay, and ultimately both are tends to be 0. Okay,
So that's all about charging, discharging, and I'll share the readings because it will be very difficult to take the readings from the video. Even sometimes stopwatch is not visible. But what I'll do, I'll directly share this readings. You just have to put it over here. I'll share that reading by today or Monday. Okay, just put that reading over here, and from that reading, what you have to do is you have to prepare this graph. Okay, prepare the graph and find out the time constant, and then that time constant you whatever time constant you find, include that in part of your conclusion. Okay, so you have to add it over here. Okay, so whatever you get from the graph, put the calculation over here, and you can calculate theoretically your time constant by multiplying R with C. See, whenever you want to find time constant, that is nothing but R into C. Okay, but whenever you do R into C, at that time your R must be in ohms and C must be in farad. Okay, so if C is in microfarad, then you have to multiply 10 to minus 6. Same way, if R is in kilo ohm, then you have to multiply it with 10 to 3. And make sure that ohm and farads are the units of R and C. Then and then you can get your time constant in terms of seconds. So whatever you get by multiplying R with C is your time constant in seconds. Okay, and the same value we'll try to achieve using a graphical method. Okay, the graphic, how to plot a graph is declared over here, and also how to draw the tangent is also done here. Okay, try to do it yourself. Okay, if you are not able to do it, no issue, I'll help you. But first, try to do it yourself. So this is all about charging, discharging. If you have any question related to charging, discharging, you can ask. Yes, any questions related to charging, discharging? Okay, then we'll start one more practical. We'll complete one more practical. Let's see what's the new one. It is the Zener diode, but IV characteristic we'll take it later on. But before that, there should be one more. Yeah, we'll complete this experiment first. Experiment number 10 is it's just a number, but basically what is this experiment? We have already performed this theory to performance resonance in RLC circuit. Okay, we know that what is the series resonance in RLC circuit. Whenever in your series resonance, when you change your frequency continuously, at some point of time, like here we have covered this theory. I am repeating one more time. You have alternating source, alternating frequency source, and I have one resistor, inductor, and capacitor in series. So when you continuously change your frequency from here, okay, I am talking about frequency and not my amplitude. Keep that in mind. What I am going to change, I am going to change frequency. Okay, so if it is 50 hertz, I'll change it to 55 hertz, let us say, or 60 hertz, so on and so forth. I'll move from 0, I'll go up to some point. Okay, so that's what I'm going to change. That would be a change in frequency. Okay, and depending on the value of R, L, and C, you'll get a resonance frequency. You can calculate that resonance frequency. You know the equation, 1 upon 2 pi into under root LC is the resonance frequency. So you have to first calculate this frequency, and then we'll try to what we are going to try do with the resonance. So at the resonance, we know that whenever resonance occurs at that time, a current is maximum in your circuit. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to change the frequency and take the reading of the current and see the effect of resonance. If actually resonance occurs, at that time your current will be maximum. Okay, so let's see that experiment. It is very easy, nothing has to be done, like no rocket science inside here. Whatever we have done in theory, same will be done over here, and we'll take number of readings with different frequency and different currents. For different frequency, you'll get different currents values, and we'll just note down that current. And if you plot the graph between that two, you'll get a graph like this. Okay, so let's see that. See, this is my circuit, and these are the values. All calculation has been done. You have to do nothing. Just take a screenshot of once we complete this. Okay. So these are the frequencies that we are going to vary. We are going to vary from 29 kilohertz up to 38 kilohertz. This is kilohertz. Okay, not 29 hertz, but it's 29 kilohertz. 29,000 hertz is the frequency.
Okay, welcome students. Now we will understand our next practical, which is series RLC circuit. Here, if we put this R, L and C in a series, and if we apply this alternating voltage, then we know that based on the L and C value, there will be at certain frequency, the value of the I which we are going to measure, it will reach to the maximum value, and we will see at which frequency we are getting the maximum current, and we will measure before this frequency and after this frequency the current is also decreasing. Now here in our kit we have a resistance R, L which having a value of 2 millihenry, and the C which is having a value of 0.01 microfarad. And we know that for the resonant frequency, the equation is F0 is equal to 1 upon 2 pi under root of LC. This is the frequency at which we are getting the maximum current. So if we measure that at which frequency the maximum current will occur by
putting this value L and C over in this equation, 1 upon 2 pi LC will get the resonance frequency. Okay, you say it as FR or F0, that's good. So what we get is 34 kilowatt. You have to include this calculation in your workbook. Okay, so here is a space. So put that over here.
Theoretically, so it is F0 is equal to 1 upon 2 pi under root of the value of L and C, which we are going to use from the kit. So it is 0.01 microfarad multiplied by 2 millihenry. So it is approximately at 33 or 34 kilohertz, at which we are getting the maximum frequency. So for the reading, we will tune the frequency for 10 different value, and theoretically we observe that it is at 34 kilohertz we will get the maximum current. So we will start our reading in a kilohertz range from 29 to 38, and we will write down each and every value of the current. Okay, now see this. This is the circuit in which we are going to give an alternating voltage from here, which it is input. This alternating voltage is given from this function generator. Right now this function generator is giving a 29 kilohertz frequency sine wave. Now this R is connected in this series in this circuit with the R, L, which having a three different values, and the C is also with the three different value, but right now we will select only one configuration. So as we know that to measure the current we are going to measure through the component. Okay, for the voltage we want to measure through, sorry, across the component, and for the current we will measure through the component. So right now this circuit, in this circuit configuration we will select a C2. Okay, so here this dash line is present, so it means that we need to connect through the wire. So we have connected using wire for C2 connection, and here also for the L1, L2, from L1, L2 and L3 we will take L1. So value of C2 is 0.01 microfarad and L1 is 2 millihenry we are selecting. Now you can see I have used a multimeter to measure the current at this frequency 29 kilohertz. Okay, right now it is a 29 kilohertz, and we can see this current is 221 milliamp.
Current is measured between this resistance and inductor using this ammeter. So this two probe are basically a ammeter. So that internal connection is done through ammeter. Ammeter is connected in series between that two. And right now frequency is 29 kilohertz, and the first reading is 2.21 milliampere.
Right now we are getting. So if we write down here 221 milliampere. Okay. Now we are simply increasing the frequency with 30 kilohertz. So at the 30 kilohertz you can see this current is 226 milliampere. In a similar way, we will increase 31. Okay, now current is 233 milliampere. Again we will increase this frequency 32, so it is 241 milliampere. At 33 it is 245 milliampere.
Students, just keep that in mind. You can see this reading, that's 0.246 milliampere. So it's not actually what he's saying. That is just a mistaken. Actual reading is 0.246 milliamps. Okay, so if we write 246, consider as 0.246 or 0.246 milliamperes. So it is less than a milliampere of current. Okay, so it's in like point. Okay, so keep that in mind.
Now 34 it is 244 milliampere. So you can see at the 33 and 34 it is almost constant. Okay, so it may reflect it is reached to the maximum value of the current. Now we are again increasing the frequency, it will be a 35. Okay, this is 35. So this current is start decreasing, it is now 231 milliampere, 36 to 213 milliampere, 37 0.196 milliampere, and 38 it is 0.177 milliampere. So these are the readings we have right now measured.
Okay, so all this reading are followed by 0 point something. Okay, so the main point that is you can see with the frequency, increasing frequency, as soon as you are reaching towards your resonance frequency, that is 34 kilohertz. uh, at 34 kilohertz you can get the maximum current, and that is 0.244 milliamp. All the other currents were lesser. Okay, so what we were doing is basically what we were doing right now is, let me explain why we have not so large variation in the current. The main reason behind that is this thing. So if you observe this curve, there is also you have to also consider a Q factor. But what we have done is we have taken two frequencies somewhere on this graph randomly. Okay, and that two frequencies is 29 kilohertz, and that the other one would be somewhere around 38 or 39, up to which we have taken the reading. Now, if you look at this, the variation would be obviously small. Why? Because here what we are doing, we are just having the response of the frequency along with the current for very narrow range. This is a very narrow range, like it's no doubt in kilohertz, but that's still a narrow range. So that's why you get a maximum current of 0.244 milliamperes, no issue in that. But the other current were also near to that values. Okay, let me write it down. It's 221 on 29. 221 on 29. Okay, so let us say this is 229, and the other one was, let us say 213, or 37, 38 is 0.117. So this is 37, and here I have 0.177. This 0.177 milliamperes. So this is a very narrow range. That's why we get this kind of response. This is just the top of the curve that we have assumed. But if you take a wide angle, like if I go below this 29, if I take a reading somewhere around 10 kilohertz and here around 50 kilohertz, in that case I'll get a very less current over here. Okay, but the point is we want to check what happens when I have the frequency at a resonance, and that frequency was 34 kilohertz in our case. So we have taken that reading, and we found out that the maximum reading was at 34 kilohertz itself. All the other frequencies were getting somewhat lesser currents. Why that has done? Because at resonance your L and C will eliminate each other, and the only element present in the circuit was resistance, and that's why we have this kind of graph. Okay, so let's
You can see at 33 or 34 we are getting a maximum current value which is approximately 244 milliampere. If we look at 29 to 33, it is increasing, and from 34 to 38 it is start decreasing. So if we draw the curve for current versus frequency, we can get this curve like in this shape.
If you know, if you want this whole curve, then you have to take the readings in wide frequency range. Okay, 29 is very near to resonance frequency. If you start with 1 kilohertz and then reach up to somewhere 50 kilohertz, then you can get this kind of curve.
And at this 34 megahertz, we will reach to the maximum current value. So this is all from practical of series resonance circuit.
So this is what a series resonance looks like. Okay, and this is the procedure that we have already seen the practical, and you have to put this values over here. Okay, but just keep that in mind. Rather than that, what I'll do, I'll share the reading of this experiment as well by my side. so you don't take the wrong readings. Okay, so and you have to calculate the resonance frequency and put the calculations over here. Okay, and then you have to write the conclusion. That's all about this practical. If you have any doubts in this experiment, then please let me know. You have to write down the values of R, L, and C. I'll share the values along with this table. Okay, so when I share this, I'll share this value as well, because you might have not written the values, so I'll do that. Done. So we'll stop here for the today's class, and